Okay, so I want you to visualize something for me. Picture a docking bay at Starbase 369. It's a study in extremes.
It really is.
On one side, you have the USS Destiny, a Prometheus-class starship, triangular multi-vector attack mode, just gleaming. It's the absolute pinnacle of Starfleet engineering.
Right. It basically screams power, order, and, well, limitless resources.
It's the ship that shows up to save the day.
Or to tell you how to live, yeah. It sort of depends on which side of the phaser you're standing on.
Exactly. And then just a few berths down, you got the SS Starburst. And sits is probably a generous word for what it's doing.
It's barely holding it together.
It's this gritty, scarred cargo hauler. The hull plating's all mismatched. The warp core is a disaster waiting to happen, and the crew is just fighting entropy every single day.
And that's really the visual metaphor for this whole deep dive, isn't it? You have the clean, the sanitized ideal of the Federation versus the messy, duct-taped reality of just trying to get by.
That contrast is the perfect launch pad for us today. We are digging into a series of mission logs titled Destiny's Son, and they cover this really tight window of time, Stardates 242510.26 to 242512.03.
And on the surface, it sounds like a standard setup. Two former captains, they're reuniting for a mission. But the interesting part isn't the mission itself. It's the psychological baggage everyone is carrying.
We're basically asking, what happens to a soldier when the war is over? When they can't stop fighting.
Or what happens to a true believer when the institution they put all their faith into just lets them down?
The two people at the heart of this are Josua Frost and Treon Brevor. Frost is a Starfleet admiral, and he's right on the verge of retirement.
And Treon is his former protege. She left the fleet, and now she's running this beat-up cargo ship.
And their reunion, it kicks off this whole chain of events that involves political betrayal, a missing friend, and just a whole lot of unresolved trauma.
And we have to talk about the context here. These logs take place in a universe that's still recovering from, massive geopolitical disasters.
The Dominion War, the Romulan supernova.
Exactly. And these aren't just background details. They really define why these characters are so broken.
So let's start with life on the SS Starburst.
Oh.
The logs open, the ship is stuck in port, its plasma manifolds are completely fried.
And right away, we meet Jaro Venn, the chief engineer. He's a Bajoran, he's burly, and he is just absolutely done with everyone's nonsense.
He's the voice of reality.
Yeah.
Treon, as captain, she's trying to use her old command presence to sort of will the ship into working.
And Venn just gives her this look. He basically says, physics doesn't care about your rank.
There's this great bit of banter where Treon is defending, pushing the engines so hard, because they were in a firefight.
And Venn just brushes it off, like details.
But the thing that really stopped me in the logs, and I actually laughed out loud at this, was the bathtub incident.
It's a funny detail, but if you really look at it, it's a profound statement about leadership.
So the backstory is, a few years ago, the crew gets a windfall, a nice bit of cash. And Treon gives them a choice.
Right. Everybody gets a bonus, or
they spend all the money installing actual old-fashioned plumbing-based bathtubs in the crew quarters. And the crew voted for the baths.
Think about what that says. On a Starfleet ship, everything is about efficiency. You get sonic showers, they save water, they save energy.
But on a cargo ship, life is hard. It's dirty. So Treon's crew chose a moment of sanctuary, hot water, relaxation over money.
It shows she's not running a military vessel anymore.
No, she's running a home.
She's running a democracy. She put their mental health and their comfort above pure efficiency, and that is the absolute antithesis of the ship parked next door.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the Destiny. And Rear Admiral Josua Frost. He's on that gleaming ship, but he's not happy. He's stepping down.
He's handing over command to a new captain, a guy named Wes Zykal.
A Brigga, right.
Yeah.
The species is basically made of living stone.
Yeah, which feels symbolic. Frost is handing his legacy over to someone unmovable.
Wow. But the scene that really got me was Frost walking the corridors by himself. He stops, and he touches the bulkhead. And the logs say he's feeling for the heartbeat of the ship.
It's almost obsessive. He can tell the difference between the vibration of the impulse manifold and the warp drive. This is a man who he understands machines better than people.
And there's a tragedy there, too. He's about to lose his whole identity. Who is Josua Frost without his ship?
The logs mention a faint chill of anticipation in him. He's not planning a vacation.
Not at all. He's on a hunt. He starts looking for Treon, but he doesn't just hail her. He doesn't take the easy way. He starts digging through falsified cargo records.
And that tells you two things right there. One, Frost can't turn off mission mode. He's treating finding a friend.
Like he's hunting a fugitive. And two, it tells you Treon really doesn't want to be found by Starfleet.
Right. So while he's searching, Frost ends up in this dive bar on the Starbase. He's trying to blend in, civilian clothes, drinking illegal Romulan ale.
But he sticks out like a sore thumb.
He absolutely does, and he gets completely taken apart by a Ferengi bartender named Rallick.
I love Rallick. He watches Frost walk up to the bar and he says, "You walk like gravity owes you something."
What a devastating line. It just perfectly encapsulates that arrogance of Starfleet. They're so used to controlling their environment. Artificial gravity, inertial dampeners.
Frost just expects the universe to bend around him.
And Rallick also says Starfleet officers love silence because it listens when you talk.
Oh, that cuts right to the core of Frost's isolation. On the bridge of a starship, silence is respect. In a dive bar, silence just means you're alone.
Rallick is pointing out that without the pips on his collar, Frost is just some guy with a drinking problem and way too many secrets.
So eventually his detective work pays off. He finds Treon in a cargo access corridor.
Yeah.
And you'd think there'd be some anger, maybe a standoff.
But no, the log says it was like coming back to a ship he'd never really left. The bond is still there.
It is, but you can feel the tension right after the hug. Treon is wary. She immediately brings up the betrayal.
And this is where we need to give a little context. She's talking about the Romulan supernova relief effort.
We have to unpack this because it drives the motivation for, like, half the characters in this story.
So years ago, the Romulan sun went supernova, a galactic catastrophe. Starfleet promised to help evacuate billions.
But then, due to political pressure, a terror attack on Mars. The Federation got cold feet, they pulled back, canceled the whole rescue fleet.
But they essentially left millions of people to die because it was politically inconvenient to save them.
And for officers like Treon, who joined Starfleet to save lives,
Yep.
that was just the breaking point. She couldn't wear the uniform anymore.
Exactly. So when she sees Frost, she sees her friend, yes, but she also sees the organization that betrayed her entire moral compass.
But Frost isn't there to defend the Federation. He buys her real tea, he makes a point of that, and then he reveals why he's really there. He shows her a datapad.
And on it is a picture of a man named John Piper, their old chief engineer who vanished 15 years ago.
And in the photo, Piper's on some pre-warp planet. He's surrounded by these bronze-skinned aliens, and he looks important, like a spiritual leader or something.
And this is where we get to the Prime Directive incident. For anyone who isn't familiar, the Prime Directive is Starfleet's highest law.
Right. You cannot interfere with the development of a culture that hasn't discovered warp drive yet. No tech, no playing God.
And here's Piper with all his advanced engineering knowledge, living among people who are basically in the Bronze Age. It's a massive violation.
Frost frames the mission as a rescue. He says if Starfleet finds out officially, they'll send in a heavy cruiser. They'll just beam Piper up, arrest him, and probably destroy that society's entire belief system in the process.
So he wants to go in quietly, a ghost mission, he calls it, to assess the situation first.
And he needs Treon's ship, the Starburst, because it's civilian, it's discreet. It's a stealth mission born out of friendship.
Or is it? Is it friendship? Or is it that Frost, the perfectionist, just can't stand the idea of a loose end like Piper out there messing up the timeline?
That's the question, isn't it? Treon agrees, mostly out of loyalty to Piper, but then they have to tell the crew. And this is where it all goes off the rails.
It's that collision of the two worlds we talked about. Frost gives a briefing in the common room. He expects everyone to fall in line once he explains the moral logic.
And instead, he gets a mutiny from Mark and Holt, the ops officer.
Holt is the voice of every person Starfleet forgot. When he hears they're going on a mission to help a Starfleet admiral clean up a mess, he just snaps.
He quits right there on the spot. He says, I didn't sign up to do favors for the people who turn their backs on us.
And you really have to sit with that. To Holt, Frost's uniform represents the people who let the border colonies burn during the Dominion War.
Starfleet was protecting the core worlds, Earth and Vulcan, and just left the outer colonies to fend for themselves.
And later, Treon finds Lyric, her navigator, and Lyric explains exactly why Holt is so angry. It wasn't just abstract politics for him.
No, it was visceral.
Lyric reveals that Holt's wife and his two daughters died from a plague during the war. They sent out distress calls. Starfleet never came.
That is just so heavy it changes everything. Frost is standing there talking about cultural contamination and these high-minded ideals.
And Holt is looking at him thinking, where were you when my family was dying? It's that privilege of the Federation. They have the luxury of worrying about the prime directive. People like Holt are just trying to survive.
And yet, Lyric decides to stay. She doesn't walk out with Holt.
But her reason for staying is so important. She tells Treon, you need a crew you can trust. She isn't staying for the mission. She's not staying for Frost.
She's staying for Treon.
Exactly. It's personal loyalty winning out over political hatred.
So the crew is fractured, Holt's gone, Lyric is wary, and then the family drama kicks in. Enter Deirdre Arlen, Treon's sister.
Deirdre is the mama bear here. She has a son, Corin, who's young ensign. He was just helping fix the Starburst while on leave.
And Deirdre finds out about this off-the-books mission, and she just corners Treon in the cargo bay.
It's late at night, Lyric sleeping in a hammock nearby, which I love that detail. It makes the ship feel so lived in. And Deirdre just unloads on her sister.
She's terrified. She knows if this mission goes south, if they get caught, it's not just Treon who goes down, it's Corin. His whole career would be over.
So she accuses Treon of picking her old life, her Starfleet ego, over her actual family.
That's a brutal accusation. You're choosing him over us.
But Treon stands her ground. She argues that Piper's family, too. It's this messy, complicated idea of loyalty.
And the resolution is just as messy. They don't sign a treaty or anything. They break out a bottle of Ractogino liquor.
Which sounds absolutely horrible, coffee liquor.
Like jet fuel, I imagine. But it works. They drink, they yell, and Deirdre finally accepts it. It reinforces that on the Starburst, you resolve conflict face-to-face, not with disciplinary hearings.
And while the sisters are drinking jet fuel, Frost decides to wander down to engineering.
He enters Jero Ven's domain. And this scene, for me, is the thematic anchor of the whole thing.
It's the architect versus the mechanic. Frost walks in, and Ven immediately gets his back up. He tells him to stop touching things.
Frost pulls out a Starfleet tricorder. He scans the warp feed and finds microfractures in the tertiary line. He's showing off, right?
Oh, completely. He's proving he's useful. He's saying, I know ships. But Ven comes back with something brilliant. He says to Frost, you walk into a room and it changes. Doesn't take a badge for that.
That line is so good. Even without his rank, Frost has this gravitational pull. He just takes up space.
It's the burden of command. You can't turn it off. And then they start talking about the fractures. But they aren't talking about the warp core anymore.
No. Frost admits, weight has a way of finding you.
And that is the aha moment. Frost is looking for microfractures in the ship because he can fix those. He can't fix the fractures in himself. He can't fix the betrayal Treon feels or Holt's dead family.
He's a man who's cracking under the pressure of his own history, and he's just desperately trying to weld something, anything back together.
And Ven sees it. For the first time, the Bajoran engineer stops seeing Frost as just a Starfleet suit, and he sees him as another broken person.
There's this shared understanding of trauma. Ven, being a Bajoran, lived through the occupation. He knows about weight. He knows about carrying things you can't put down.
It's this quiet moment of connection that finally bridges the gap between the shiny Destiny and the gritty Starburst.
So the stage is set. The ship is patched up, both the metal and the people, sort of. Holt is gone, but the rest of them are committed, and they are warping out to find John Piper.
They are heading straight for a moral event horizon.
And that is the thought I want to leave all of you with today. Frost has sold this mission as a rescue. He wants to save Piper from a prime directive violation. He wants to bring him home.
But look at that photo again. Piper wasn't sending a distress signal. He was living among people who seemed to respect him. He might have found a purpose there that Starfleet never ever gave him.
Exactly. We always assume that civilization, with a capital C, warp drives and replicators and Federation laws, is better. But what if it isn't? What if Piper is actually happy?
So if Frost drags him back to the modern world, he isn't saving him. He's destroying the life that Piper built for himself. He's enforcing his version of order on a man who might have finally found peace in chaos.
Which raises the question, when does helping become policing? And are Frost and Treon actually the bad guys in Piper's story?
I think they might be. They are bringing all their fractures, all their politics, and all their trauma to a world that was probably doing just fine without them.
It's a fascinating setup for a potential tragedy. We've got a crew held together by duct tape and loyalty, heading off to save a man who might not even want to be found. I really can't wait to see what happens in the next set of logs.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
That is all for this deep dive into Destiny's Son. Thank you for listening, and remember, Sometimes the hardest part of the mission is just knowing when it's over. We'll see you next time.